Basic ET Course Disclaimer. The topics we are about to dive into are fascinating, intimidating, and very controversial. I urge you to reset all your preconceived opinions about UFOs and ETs before continuing. Keep an open mind so that you may process this information rationally without letting your pre-programmed mindset interfere. This topic is a minefield, and nobody has the whole picture. I also reserve the right to be wrong, but I do my best to piece together information that I have gathered. Thank you.
Hi and welcome to the ET Species, the basic ET course. Today we will talk about the intriguing topic of the extraterrestrial presence on Earth. My name is Håkon Bunes, and I'm an unconventional thinker and researcher who enjoys exploring alternative topics that lie outside the norm of academic knowledge. I will try to teach you about extraterrestrials and the topics that are closely related. So why am I an expert on this fringe topic? My fascination with the alternative topics began 20 years ago, and eventually it was not possible for me to keep my knowledge to myself. It was like the universe was forcing me in this direction. In my everyday life, I work as a senior designer, and that became in handy when I started the journey of visualizing extraterrestrials. Last year, I wrote a book, and I finally completed it in May. It's called Off-World Influencers. In there I created over 70 authentic ET races, and I did that in 3D. I also provide detailed descriptions of these 70 species. I also dive into agendas, metaphysics, and self-improvement in that book. I have been on podcasts, and I run an Instagram account called ET Species, where I have basically over 44,000 Instagram followers at the moment. I also have a website, etspecies.com, where you can read more about the specific races. I have been fascinated by the idea of UFOs for over 20 years. And I cannot count how many hours have gone into researching these topics. Lately, however, my focus and fascination has turned towards the visitors themselves. And how do I know that this information that I'm gathering is authentic? Well, first off, I'm not an ET contact. I may be subliminally guided every now and then, and I also use my intuitive abilities. I believe that people who have a strong desire for something may get some downloads when they do their work. The truth is that I have been very inspired also by a book called The Alien Races, a gift from the stars by Elena Danaan. This may account for maybe 50% of my conclusions, both in the description and the visual aspect. She goes into great depth about the ET races, and I really recommend for you to get this book if you want to go deep into the knowledge of these various races. Elena Danaan is basically someone who has had a lot of contact with extraterrestrial beings, and you can Google her to learn more about her experiences and her books. My research approach is, however, to take in all available information, regardless of the source, and cross-check it with other sources before concluding anything. I use books, movies, publications, documentaries, leaked documents, I listen to personal interviews. I have conversations. I also, of course, investigate witness and whistleblower testimonies. And these are all sources of my research. I also have a friend who conducts some private channeling sessions for me with the Arcturian Collective. I also review online forum logs and follow some remote viewing accounts. And I have also been fortunate enough to witness UFOs myself. I have seen 8 UFOs, and I consider this to be a gift. Perhaps it's a nudge for me to go in this direction. Combined, all of these methods and experiences serve the purpose of confirmation. I believe I put many pieces together and verify them as of this standard. While I do understand that some of these topics may not be scientifically provable, I still believe they are worth investigating. And my goal is just to pique your interest and encourage you to venture beyond your current belief system. I cannot always provide you with evidence, but I can provide you with a seed that may change your view of life. It's all about perspective. When we see it from a larger perspective, maybe the small stuff in our life isn't that important. Okay, so what will you learn in this course? This Off-World Influencers Basic ET course is a course where I'll be teaching you about the concept of real extraterrestrial races. More specifically, I will teach you about the 7 archetypes. And these are pretty much extraterrestrials that we currently have knowledge of. And if you're new to the subject of ETs, I'll go over some fundamental concepts with you. You probably want to make sense of everything, right? It's the best way for you to navigate through the endless, noisy internet jungle for answers. So what are operating these UFOs? And what types of visitors do we have? What are their traits? What are their intentions? Do they have alliances and federations? What are their characteristics, their capabilities, and their agendas? Is there a link between the various governments and the ETs themselves? All these questions will be answered in this course. And in the end, we will briefly discuss how you can utilize what you have learned and actually embed it into your own life. We will tie it all together in this basic ET course. So let's dive straight into the extraterrestrial visitors that are visiting Earth at the moment. During the disclosure project that took place at the National Press Club in 2001, we were informed by a military source called Clifford Stone that they had mapped 67 different races and retrieved many UFOs. And just recently, there has been some major revelations coming from military whistleblowers about the ETs and their involvement with our governments. David Grush, a Pentagon whistleblower, claims that we have had secret space programs handling recovered UFOs and their occupants for over 80 years. In addition, we have a large number of witness accounts, images, videos, and other prominent evidence that point to the possibility that extraterrestrials are visiting the planet. The officials have chosen to remain silent on the subject for reasons we will address later. So this is not something that only comes from independent sources. Other whistleblowers even claim that so-called Nordic races in particular are mingling among us. This is of course way outside our comfort zone, and I find this hard to grasp. UFOs and aliens, the outline plot. Let's boil it down to a concise summary of the current scenario. To begin with, I and many others believe that UFOs and extraterrestrials have been visiting us for millennia. Throughout history, these groups have been keeping an eye on us, and occasionally they have interacted with us and influenced us in subverted ways. It's conveyed to me by ET channeling that over 500 races are currently in our solar system. I know most of you would say that this is impossible because astronomers would detect that. But they are obviously able to cloak and remain invisible to our telescopes and radars due to their advanced technology. Some of these visitors have agendas, while others simply observe and are here to guide us. Now, I will drop a bombshell. The Earth has been invaded many times in the history of mankind. In the modern era, it last happened 80 years ago, but not in the way you might think. Let me explain. In the early 1950s, the covert group within the Eisenhower administration that is referred to as the MJ-12 group or Majestic 12 went behind the president's back and made a deal with the Greys from Orion. This would allow the ETs to take some humans and use their genetics to save themselves from extinction, in exchange for advanced technology. And this technology was exclusively shared with the US. But something went wrong. A very intricate plot was initiated by the ETs that basically hijacked the entire power structure of the Western world. During the same era, a race from Alpha Draconis initiated contact with the Germans. So our social and governmental structure was attacked on two fronts at the same time. These groups had slightly different agendas, but they did form an alliance because they didn't want to use their resources on fighting each other. The Draconians had the motive of simple control and dominance, while the Orion group had the agenda of turning us into a technocratic and a divided society where wealth was only for the chosen few and the rest would perish. They both covertly manipulated our leaders, and our consciousness were compromised and rendering us apathetic and obedient. Ultimately, their aim would be for us to manifest a timeline of doom. These ETs play the long game, and slowly introducing us to elements that detach us from ourselves, so that we can basically become theirs. On the other side of the spectrum, we have the positive ETs that really want to free us from the path of destruction and subliminal tyranny. And to be fair, these ones have a strong incentive to assist us now because we are connected to them, both spiritually and genetically. Apparently, If the Orion Group were to succeed, the future of this galaxy would be at stake. Some of these ETs are humanoids, and they have been working closely with the positive factions of some governments, and they want to make things right. However, due to ethical restrictions, the ETs are not permitted to show themselves in public. Universal law states that each race must be permitted to evolve at its own rate, without evident assistance from outside sources. So they mostly stay in the shadows. But now they are allowed to help us. We didn't consent to this invasion. And the Prime Directive states that you cannot invade without consent. So for 80 years, a covert chess game has been played on the highest levels between some factions of the negative ETs, the private military-industrial complex, and the positive ETs alongside a counteracting human initiative. This story is basically the biggest story in human history, and they have managed to keep this a secret for over 80 years. Theories of what are operating the UFOs. So there are various theories about what are maneuvering those objects. Of course, there are light balls, and also we know them as orbs. And there are more etheric phenomena as well. If we focus on those that are solid of a physical form, we're more likely to find answers. And here's a list of what some people are speculating are operating these crafts. Number one, could it be time travelers from the future? Yeah, it could be. It could be even ETs from the future. It could be ourselves from the future. We don't know how time really works in that sense, and if there are various timelines, they could, in theory, go back and adjust certain things on this timeline. But I definitely see that as a possibility. We know that they are very capable of time travel, and this has been exposed within the secret space programs, and they even use it there. And apparently it's pretty common among the advanced races. Could it be humans from secret space programs? Definitely. There's a whole lot of accounts where whistleblowers are coming forward stating that many of the UFOs are secret space program projects. We have all heard about the TR-3B, for example. The large triangle crafts are all very much human-made. You can see the distinct difference in the materials. Our crafts are distinct in that sense that they are not seamless like the real ET crafts. They have nuts and bolts, and they make sound. Yeah, it just feels a bit different. They are using earthly technology, but of course they have gathered a lot of advanced technology from reverse engineering of ET crafts within these secret space programs. Some people are claiming these to be inner Earth beings. When I say inner Earth beings, we're not saying that the Earth is hollow. But there are various dimensions or densities, as we refer to it as. And they apparently live in huge caves inside the Earth. And these are colonies from other star systems that go way, way, way back. And they also live in higher densities, as I mentioned. So if we were to drill down, we would basically not see them because they're outside our reality in that sense. People say that they are actually coming up every now and then, interacting with us and merging into our third density reality. And this borders on to the next subject, which is basically interdimensional objects or beings. What do we mean when we say interdimensional? Within this alternative topic, people talk about something called densities. It's kind of dimensions, but not really. It's more like higher octaves within our dimension. So if they are real extraterrestrials or even inner Earth beings, as we touched upon, they can exist in higher densities, and they only manifest when they lower their frequency into our frequency, which is basically the third density. Many ETs are interdimensional, especially the higher evolved versions. We have something else also. There's a possibility that these are basically unmanned drones from interplanetary spaceships or motherships that are stationed in our solar system. Some people claim that the light orbs are typical of these phenomena. Often they are seen as they are releasing even smaller. They appear as huge lights in the sky, and they release many ships or drones that just wanders around in circle and form some sort of patterns and in the sky and venture off to their own direction. Sometimes they scan the Earth somehow. I don't know what they're doing, but they're probably recording or something, or taking measurements, or doing some sort of scientific investigation. And this has been verified by whistleblowers as well, especially lately in the last 6 months. Some people also consider these light balls or unmanned drones to have like a consciousness of their own. Maybe they are part of a huge organic complex. Who knows? But the last most established theory is the physical extraterrestrial beings. Thousands of reports indicate that the aliens are most commonly seen inside the ship, especially the Greys, from whom we're going to get to know a lot better later. Humans are also reported to be inside or be spotted inside these crafts, and even exited the craft. And there's many accounts of this. People who have contact with the ETs, they can also verify that there is obviously a lot of extraterrestrials in charge of these UFOs, and they are using that to visit us. Either they're coming from a large mothership stationed in our galaxy somewhere, also in our solar system. There's also a possibility that there are huge, space stations or outposts that are not really motherships, but more like space stations that they venture out from. There's a lot of theories about this. how do they get here? Well, the first mistake we make is always assuming that all science is based on our assessment of physical limitations. I believe that they travel the cosmos using a portal technology and teleportation. Also, they are able to travel faster than light because of a particular technology that manipulates the laws of physics. This has to do with density, dimensions, and consciousness, which is apparently a large or a huge part of their technology. They will go like 23,000 kilometers per hour and then stop on a dime and go in the other direction. They can make 90 degrees turn and drop in altitude 5 times faster than falling speed. Also, they are reporting to just vanish. And this goes back to the density or the frequency manipulation. And they can basically vanish from our visual spectrum. They are obviously within their own gravity field, and therefore they're not flying in that sense. Maybe rapid linear teleportation is more accurate, where they actually just pop in and out of reality in various locations and not really fly using engines in that sense. Another possibility is that the UFOs regulate their own mass density and therefore avoid resistance and drag. So if they become less physical, it's a lot easier to travel. Just bring this back to radiation and light and things of that nature. It can travel a lot faster than mass. Could they be consciousness driven and be symbiotic with their occupants? Possibly. We know that they create some sort of electromagnetic field around them, which gives them the option to vanish from our visual spectrum. And some people claim that they are using some sort of crystal technology where they harvest energy. They can create their own portals, but they are more powerful and natural stargates throughout the universe. UFOs are seen in all types and shapes. They are seen as clouds, lights, orbs, saucers, triangles, V-shapes, round, small, large, extra large, in all sorts of shapes. So they are all different, and they all come here with a various type of technology. What are UFOs' unique capabilities? Now, I just want to address something about the UFOs themselves. According to experiencers and military whistleblowers, the UFOs are reported to have a smooth interior with very few screens and buttons. And they have the ability to appear a lot larger inside than they appear to be from the outside. The material used is seamlessly covering the craft, and they're often they have a strong electromagnetic field around them. This can only make us ponder about the level of their technology. And some people report that they have some sort of radiation injuries when they're coming too close. People who have worked on recovered crafts also claim that some UFOs are 100% organic. It seems to be many races and cultures that are visiting us, and they all use, various types of technology. Okay, I will give you this challenge. Try to investigate on Google what technologies and materials you think may derive from the ETs. Good luck. Okay, so let's dive into lecture 2, extraterrestrial archetypes. I guess this is why most of you are here taking this course. There are, in my opinion, 7 primary categories of extraterrestrial archetypes. When I say archetypes, I'm referring to the ways in which we can easily categorize these extraterrestrials. Each and every one of the archetypes is made up of a mixture of 24 different intergalactic root races, but is distinct in their attributes. In this section, we will concentrate on the archetypes that is best described as the majority of our visitors. So let's start. The gray races. Gray aliens are commonly depicted as the extraterrestrials in pop culture. This root race of the Greys is called the Laniil, and they originate from another galaxy. There are so many types of these beings, and they are often portrayed as small humanoid beings with large heads and black almond-shaped eyes. And they tend to have long arms and skinny bodies. Reports say that their skin is like dry dolphin skin, or even more wrinkled, like some sort of elephant skin. It really depends on the type. And there are tall greys, small greys, and hybrid greys. The tall greys are often in charge of the smaller ones and seem to have a high rank in their culture. Some of the gray races are even biological robots, and they are often used as worker bees for the more biological ones. The gray races, or this gray species, have various races, and some are good and some are negative, but mostly we associate them as negatives. This has partly to do with the abduction phenomenon, and that has plagued us for quite some time. The gray race itself is neutral in its polarity, but as the superior reptilian race began to enslave them and made them do horrific acts towards humans and other races around the universe, much of their reputation have been contaminated. Many of these greys have been genetically engineered, created as synthetics or cloned with human DNA, making them more compatible with other species. The cloning also makes them more obedient to their masters, and many believe that some greys are even spiritual nomads that are not anchored to specific planets, and they're just living on spaceships. So a larger portion of the 27 gray races that are interacting with Earth has fallen victim to the manipulation of the Orion group, that we also refer to as the Nebu. They have a hive mind mentality and they live in a totalitarian regime, and they're only answering to an AI infected entity referred to as the Red Queen. While their hive mind is compartmentalized, they still have access to the minds of groups that are on the same rank. Telepathy and strong invading mental powers is one of their strongest weapons. The Greys from Zeta Reticuli are by far the most active ET culture on Earth and are heavily involved in human abductions. Some believe that they operate together with other species and they do this underground and in bases such as the Dulce base and the more famous one called Area 51. And they have their own dedicated areas where they are conducting horrific experiments in collaboration with some military faction and private corporations. However, abductees from the pure Zeta groups are usually taken on board a discoidal spacecraft, and occasionally they are returned. And the staggering number of people that go missing every year suggests the extent of this activity. There appears to be an agenda related to the abductions. I think it's to create a hybrid race of humans and Greys with the aim of being integrated into the human society in the future. And these beings would have a Grey soul in that sense and a human-looking body. The tall Greys that we call Mitra and the Eban seem to be the brains behind their activities. And this all boils down to selfish motives. As they are not very spiritual, they will venture down the road of AI and technology to attain growth and advancement. But when they die, they must go through the same loop over and over again until they learn that connecting with spirit and using, the power of consciousness is a true way to ascension. The Greys have few facial expressions. That's because they use their energy signature as a way to impose moods and intentions towards others. Another race that we know of is called the Daos, and they often pose as friends or a race in need of genetic material in order to save their own race. And they use this as a Trojan horse tactic. And I believe that this is what took place at the Roswell incident in 1947. I think the Daos crashed on purpose, only to initiate contact with the military factions of the US. And then they wanted to infiltrate and seed some sort of technology into the governments, igniting their lust for more technology. And this resulted, of course, in some sort of agreement. And a lot of recent intel points to this scenario. Some Greys are helpful and they serve as guides and observers. So we must remember that there are groups of Greys that are actively helping us as well. So let's go into the aquatic races. The concept of aquatic races in relation to extraterrestrial beings refers to intelligent civilizations that exist primarily or entirely underwater. These alleged aquatic races are often described as having adapted to aquatic environments on their home planets and are believed to possess advanced technologies, and they have unique characteristics that is suited for their watery habitats. There are various accounts and claims about aquatic extraterrestrial races. Some of the alleged characteristics associated with aquatic races include physical adaptations. These beings are often described as having humanoid or semi-humanoid forms with aquatic features such as gills, webbed hands or feet, and they have a streamlined body. They may also have bioluminescent or translucent skin that help them navigate underwater and in similar environments. Some claim that their emotions and health are conveyed through their skin, meaning that it manifests by patterns or colorization on their semi-translucent skin in that sense. It's believed that aquatic races possesses advanced technology suited for underwater exploration and communication. Some accounts suggest that the aquatics have developed telepathic communication as a primary means of interaction. This is due to the challenges, of course, to vocal communication, and that is hard to practice underwater. It's often speculated that these races have established underwater civilizations and colonies that are residing underwater and they are large cities and also large structures, both on their home planets, and there are indications that we have these spaces on our planet as well. These cities may be hidden deep within ocean depths, located on planets that are entirely covered with water. And there's one occurrence in particular that happened in a deep Russian lake that intrigued investigators. In 1982, beneath the depths of Lake Baikal, 7 Russian divers embarked on a research mission to explore the depths of the world's deepest freshwater lake. However, as they descended to the depth of 50 meters, a peculiar sight greeted them. Humanoid creatures unlike anything they've ever encountered before. And they were quite intrigued, and the divers wanted to capture one of these enigmatic beings. But unexpectedly, an unknown force exerted itself, forcefully propelling all the divers back to the surface. And this caused many of the divers severe injuries, and some of them even died. This encounter raises questions about their identity and the nature of these mysterious creatures. The alleged purpose and intentions of aquatic races are, they vary in accounts, and some suggest that they are peaceful and just interested in observing and assisting humanity, while others propose a more mysterious or secretive motives. We just don't know. We don't know much about aquatic races as of now. The humanoid races. This may or may not surprise you. But one of the most common descriptions of extraterrestrial beings is that they have humanoid appearances. To give you a sense of how diverse human life is in the galaxy, there are apparently 400,000 human civilizations in various stages of evolution only in our Milky Way alone. The humans on Earth have genes from a race that we refer to as the Ahel and the Tal. And these are ancestors of the human-looking races that we know as the Pleiadians. Some of them resemble tall Scandinavians with blonde hair and fair skin. The women are said to be incredibly beautiful and very sensual. The interesting thing about all of them is that they have flawless skin with no blemishes or wrinkles. It's like they're genetically perfect. Some people claim this is because they are from a pure human lineage, unlike us who are a mix of, different genes from various races. These humanoid beings often wear tight silvery or blue suits with belts and labels. Although at first glance they might not seem particularly sophisticated, but these suits have density regulating properties and anti-penetration abilities and very advanced functions that we don't even know about. But there are also other alien beings that look like humans, but in different sizes and proportions. They often have various skin colors, and due to the atmosphere and the environment, they tend to have, different heights. And apparently, humans are quite low in stature compared to the average humanoid out there. They have slightly larger eyes with beautiful patterns in their irises. Some people find their eyes almost hypnotic, and most of these human-like aliens are friendly and try to help us on our spiritual path and, help us grow. So you see, our human lineage is ancient. And according to Elena Danaan, the original human race comes from NGC 7331 galaxy. And this race is called the Elohim. The Patal seeded 4 types of human life in Lyra. And this the name of these human races was the Lan, the Nur, the Tal, and the Ahel. And these are all based on the Elohim genome. But the Lan race is basically a hybrid from a feline race and the human races. Both the Patal and the Elohim race are one of the 24 seeder races that all life in the universe is apparently based on. In the Milky Way, all human life evolved first in the Lyra system, as I mentioned, in the man system called K64. So the 3 original humanoid types in this galaxy are now known as the Lyran, Altarian, and Centaurian races. The Altarian races and the Centaurian races got their description after they left Lyra to explore space and settle colonies in various star systems. And there were most of the human life stayed in Lyra, and they had to defend themselves from a massive attack by a reptilian race from Alpha Draconis. I guess most of you have heard about the Pleiadians, as we mentioned. And these are, of course, of the original Lyra races. They live mostly in Taygeta in the Pleiades. And Many of the Ahel are living on a planet called Era. They consider us to be their relatives, and they have been watching over us for thousands of years. The Pleiadians exist in higher frequencies of existence that we call fourth and the fifth density. And these are partially outside our range of normal vision. We touched upon this earlier in this course. They work together with many other races, and they communicate with the Earth humans on different levels to help us with disclosure and help us with our spiritual growth. The Pleiades in particular want to influence us so that we can help others in their spiritual evolution. They take care of us because they know that there are other races trying to exploit or manipulate us in subverted ways. The Andromedans are experts in manipulating and reading potential timelines using their super advanced technology and high spiritual awareness. Another race is the Arcturians. These guys are known as the wise teachers who have been around for a long time, and they have like blue to golden skin, slightly elongated skulls. The Syrians are very much humanoid in their appearance, but they have a more slanted eyes and a bit elongated skull as well. And there are lots of other races I could mention. As the negative energies became stronger on Earth, the Pleiadians, along with the Andromedans and the Arcturians, played a very important role in counteracting the negative influence by using advanced war tactics and their spiritual influence. However, they have to follow the Galactic Codex and not intervene, obviously. The Prime Directive states that each civilization has to evolve on its own pace without interference from a superior race. I will also mention that some renegade Tal from Lyra ventured out from Lyra and they got compromised by the Dracos, just like the Greys did. And this is quite confusing to us because these humans have been playing both sides in this conflict. So in abductions, some people claim to see, blonde humanoid beings alongside the more negative Greys, and this is kind of confusing. But it's basically that these tall beings have been compromised, and there are other beings as well that have gone over to the negative side. So we should not trust these humans. It's like on Earth, there are good and bad people here as well. The insectoid beings. Why do we have the types of ETs that resemble Earth creatures, you may ask? Well, I tend to look at it the other way around. Why do we have versions of the ET species down here, but in animal or insect form that resembles the ETs? I believe this has to do with the genetic templates. The most famous insectoid race is the praying mantis type. They are from Akara, more specifically in the Sombrero galaxy. The Akara mantis lays eggs, as most insects do, and they can grow up to be 9 feet tall, and they are extremely telepathic. But they also communicate by clicking sounds. And these intelligent beings have an exoskeleton, and they can bend their joints in all strange ways. And they are hive-minded, mentally very powerful, and they appear to be very rational and calculated. It's natural to think that they're emotionless because they don't have any, facial expressions. This is obviously not the case. They don't have facial muscles, so this is why we seem to have that notion. While they may appear malevolent, it's more accurate to say that they are neutral. They can manipulate consciousness, and they have their own ethics based on logic, and they only look after their own interests, making decisions that benefit their own race. They master genetics to perfection, and they are very interested in the soul aspect of our consciousness. Because of their genetic abilities and timeline, and also dimension manipulation abilities, they are very sought after by the Grey Collective and the Orion Alliance to assist in their experiments and endeavors. Apparently, we don't have to travel further than Mars to encounter insectoid beings like ant creatures, and they dwell underneath the ground. And they are also native to Mars. This has been substantiated by various whistleblowers and also confirmed by remote viewers. There are myths by the Hopi Indians that we have ant beings which are dwelling underground, even here on Earth. And this was recently confirmed by a military whistleblower called JP. There are hundreds of testimonies that claim to have encountered these insectoid beings in abduction scenarios. Just imagine the surrealism in seeing a giant insectoid, like a green mantis, doing experiments on you and being in charge of an abduction. It's just scary. We don't know too much about the insectoids, but this is basically the information I have. The reptilian races. The topic of the reptilian races continue to generate a significant amount of curiosity and controversy. This species has been on our case for millennia, continually attempting to exert their influence and gain power over us from behind the scenes. The species that we refer to as reptilian or reptoid looks like an upraised lizard to us. The majority of them have muscular features. They are not particularly evolved spiritually, but they have reached advanced levels of technology and development and are masters of deception. The most feared reptilian race are the ones from Alpha Draconis. In the beginning of their era, they had a ruling queen, but they now apparently have a king that controls everything. The Draconian king is depicted here, and many believe that this is where the origin of the devil legend derived from. It's safe to say that the Draconians have influenced Satanism and other occult factions on Earth. The signs are everywhere. It's in their nature to seek dominance and control, and they are rumored to be the first race to map the universe. And that's making them extremely arrogant. They've conquered more than 500 worlds, and many races believe that the Draconians are the ultimate warrior race. They consider themselves to be on top of the reptilian food chain, so pretty much they do what they please. Their collective mentality is hive-like. The Dracos are not very spiritual in nature, but rather they crave for more power. The Seeker White Royal is the master Draconian race, standing 16 to 20 feet tall, and their lifespan ranges from 1800 to 4100 years. People who I have personally spoken to claim that they have had encounters with this being and say that they have an awful odor and they forcefully invade your mind. One claimed that it was like getting mentally raped. The energy emitting from them is supposed to be extremely negative. According to Alex Collier, who is a contactee, they have 2 hearts and they have the strength of 15 to 20 men. They have a caste system within ranks in their community. They have engineers, scientists, workers, and warriors among them. From birth, they have been programmed to believe that love is weak and hate is strong. The parents, they abandon the newborns at birth, leaving them to fend for themselves. And this is how they groom a true warrior race. The green or brown-scaled Nagai or Naga are another high-ranking group that are now considered to be a Draco race. And they have been dwelling underground on Earth since the Atlantean times. And they have a strong presence on this planet. They are of the warrior caste and are smaller and a bit less muscular than the other strong sea cars. But they also have the skill of shape-shifting. There's also the smaller, sinister Sigma Draconis, who are also known for their shape-shifting abilities and their very occult practices. There is an indigenous reptilian race on Mars, which is not evil, and these ones only protect their own turf. My understanding is that there's also a lot of other reptoids and dinosaurian and reptilian beings that exist throughout the universe. And as you may have gathered, not all of them are of the negative polarity. We must be aware of the racism that we may subconsciously have towards certain types of beings. I guess this is something that is pre-programmed into our genetics due to the history that we have with some of these creatures. The avian or bird-like races. I don't know too much about these types, but the fact that they are, portrayed as avian beings or with avian features, that's a very strange thing to us. A well-known but rather controversial testimony by a whistleblower called Corey Good tells about a highly advanced race that he calls the Blue Avians. Apparently they are positive, and that's a race that really look after us. They exist in the 8th to 9th density, and they're very, very spiritually advanced. Apparently they have like an indigo colored, and they reach 8 foot above the floor, and they are feathered, and they look pretty magnificent. They operate in multiple galaxies, and they can teleport at will anywhere they desire. Another race you may have heard of is the Thoth from ancient Egypt. The Thoth is an ancient Egyptian deity who was highly revered for his wisdom, knowledge, and magical abilities. He is often depicted as a man with the head of ibis, or as a full ibis bird. Thoth was associated with various domains, including writing, magic, science, and judgment. He was considered the inventor of writing and the patron of scribes. Thoth was also believed to have played a significant role in the judgment of souls in the afterlife. There's a specific race that we call the Carians. I don't know too much about them, but they are claimed to be the one that actually created the reptilian race a long time ago. But this is not something that I have read about elsewhere. So as you gather, I don't have too much information about the avian races. The mammalian races, or the animal-like races. The feline alien race, known as the feline extraterrestrials or feline ETs, are often described as humanoids in appearance but with feline features. They are said to have a resemblance to the Earth's big cats, such as lions and tigers and panthers, rather muscular, and apparently they are possessing human-like intelligence, but with high consciousness. These are often raising up to 10 feet and are powerful cat-like beings with a humanoid body they also. And these are magnificent beings that seem to have our best intention at heart. Some refer to the feline beings as the Urma. They are often portrayed as benevolent beings with a deep connection to nature and focus on peace and harmony. Also, they are said to be very elegant and wears outfits that is almost of a royal nature. Some sources suggest that they have had interaction with Earth throughout history, providing assistance and knowledge to humanity. They are sometimes associated with civilizations like Egypt. According to some accounts and theories, the feline ETs originate from a star system Sirius B, Vega, or Lyra. Apparently, their galactic origin race are the Lan from Lyra, and which again derives from a root race outside our galaxy called Elian Sukami. And in Egypt we also encounter Anubis, which to me looks like a hyena or a dog-looking creature with a animal head and a human body. This could very well also be one of those mammalian races. Challenge. Go to Google and search for real aliens and find 3 aliens you believe could be real, and it's just not ungrounded creative designs from an artist. Groups and factions. Similar to Earth humans, ET beings have also taken part in initiatives aimed at creating alliances among species with similar interests and agendas. They hold various agendas and viewpoints on how things should be governed throughout the universe. At times, opposing factions form a standoff agreement due to their comparable levels of power and influence. This has been the norm in the universe for as long as life has existed. We are apparently very, very interesting and our planet as well, because we have quite a few factions involved in our affairs. While this may seem far-fetched, even a former Israeli minister, Hami Ashed, claimed that there is a galactic federation in contact with Earth governments. So here's a list of the factions and the groupings that I know a little bit about. So at the top we have the Intergalactic Confederation, and these guys are positive. It's a group of our super advanced beings that are working to keep balance in the universe. There is few or none that can confront this confederation, as they are on top of the hierarchy. Apparently they are here to assist us in this time with a large fleet of over 500 motherships. And below them we have the Galactic Federation of Worlds, and these guys are mostly operating in our galaxy. And this faction was founded over 4.5 million years ago in order to prevent, the dark forces from dominating and exploiting this galaxy. And it consists of an alliance of thousands of species from this sector of the galaxy. And we have the Ashtar Galactic Command, which is a positive faction. This group is an Orion-based faction from Series B, Ashkeru, and it's a breakaway civilization. A group of these independent light warriors have stationed a large mothership near Jupiter that serves as a headquarters for many positive races at this time. They fight alongside the Galactic Federation of Worlds and mostly consist of small, blonde humanoids that broke away from their compromised civilization in Series B long ago. And they are basically now just policing our solar system. We have the Council of Five, and they are very positive. This is 5 races that have been watching Earth's progress since the dawn of life. They have positive intentions and have had many meetings with human officials with the aim of adjusting our course and to advise us in times of need. Recently, another race called the Elmanuk rejoined them, and they may now be referred to as the Council of Six. And the Council is working closely with the Ashtar Command, the Galactic Federation, and the Andromeda Council. And then we can talk a little bit about the Andromeda Council. And this is a positive council, definitely. It's a high council of 140 types of species that reside in Andromeda. Very evolved spiritually and very technologically advanced. Their speciality is to decode energies to predict specific timelines. They are great negotiators and masters of diplomacy as well. So they are very good to have in these times of conflict. And there's a group that we called Orion Group, also called Nebu, and these guys are negative. It consists of a mixture of greys, some reptilian hybrids, and some humanoids and other types that may resemble amphibian and insectoid beings. And they are centrally controlled from Orion, and this group is very much involved in the negative ET events that we have on Earth, and they're working closely with the Seekar Empire and also with the Earth Cabal. And then we have the Seekar, or the Draconian Empire, and these ones are also negative. The reptilian races from Alpha Draconis, they have their headquarters in a system that we call Thuban. They have conquered over 500 worlds and are set on galactic domination, and they are feared all over the galaxies. They have recently encountered major setbacks due to the opposition from more positive elements in this galaxy. But they used to be a major threat to us and other species in our sector of the galaxy. But they have been pushed back now. Then we have the more earthly based Cabal, the Deep State. And these ones are negative. These are basically the ones that control the humans. And they get their orders from the Draconians and the Orions. And it's a group of individuals in power positions here on Earth that have the agenda to serve the ETs. These people work with other negative elements as well, and they use a lot of occult practices and mind control to control us. The Dark Fleet, they are also negative. This is an offshoot of a German Nazi generation that have been in operation for over 80 years. They are associated with the Alpha Draconis that they actually shared a base with in Antarctica. Now they are mostly operating outside our solar system as a breakaway civilization on their own. Understanding the various theories of extraterrestrial agendas. As you may understand, there are various agendas depending on the associations these beings have with their groups. But most of the good humans want us to evolve to the next stage of evolution together with them. We carry their DNA basically, and therefore they need us to evolve as well. Apparently there's an invisible link or some sort of quantum entanglement between genetics and consciousness throughout the galaxy. So they are basically stuck until we evolve further. But these guys, they are also binded by the non-intervention rules. So they influence us in many ways through energies and guidance, and often they visit us in dream states as well. But very few people actually pick up on this. The Gray's agenda is more negative, as they attempt to create a human hybrid race that actually have a gray soul. They also clone humans and put gray souls in them so they can carry out their agenda here on Earth. They want our resources, and they want to work side by side with another fear group that we call the Seekar, or the Draconians. These reptilians think they own the star system. They're in it for the long game. They are playing us from behind the scenes. They have taken a lot of people and kidnapped them. And they feed off our suffering, and therefore we are just a resource to them. But recently, sources have claimed that both them and the Greys are being removed by these positive forces that are guarding our solar system, such as the Ashtar Command and the Pleiadians and the Galactic Federation of Worlds. And also with the assistance of the Intergalactic Confederation. Other groups are assisting as well, and some are just watching us to study our development. They are looking after their genetic project. Our planet, it's so rich and has such a diversity of life, and it's probably the largest genetic pool in this sector of the galaxy. Other races are just trading with various other races that are placed on outposts outside Jupiter or Saturn, and they have, like trading stations, space stations where they meet. But I do believe that the majority are protecting us and want our best. So what I have heard from multiple sources is that about 83% of the races that are among us are good guys. And the rest are trying to bully us around and take control. But this is supposed to be ending as we speak, because there's a major cleansing going on in our sector of the galaxy, and especially in our solar system. Recognize the implications of extraterrestrial visitors for humanity. The religious aspect would potentially create spiritual havoc, and most of our planet have religious belief, and to take that away from us could be detrimental. We have the credibility of governmental and religious institutions at stake. If we have known about this for 80 years, why have we not been informed about any of this? And there is the technological aspect. If we get such advanced technology from them, why are these technologies locked up in secret space programs or in unacknowledged special access programs, only to benefit war, when it could actually solve so many problems that we have on Earth, such as environmental problems, poverty, war, health, diseases, famine, all these things. We have technology to fix all of these problems and challenges. Those who are in the know would face serious repercussions if they were to leak this information. The people who worked in these projects are actually keeping shut. They would take away their pension, and they would threaten their family, and they would do things to their kids. So the lid is kept using extortion. It's crazy to think that this has been going on for so long without the public knowing. The implications of full disclosure is a very complicated thing. To begin with, we have treaties with extraterrestrial beings that state that we shall not tell the public about their presence. One of the reasons for this is the rebellion it might cause. And another reason is that we are an evolving civilization, and we must evolve to the next stage without interference. Apparently, we must learn to act like we're equals, and we have to leave our ego behind. We can't keep up this pretense indefinitely. There will come a time where we have to pull off the band-aid and deal with the fact that we are actually not alone here. Because the charade cannot go on forever, the potential riots may rock our society to the core. And it's natural to think that a slow drip method will be the best way to disclose the fact that we have extraterrestrial visitors and all the other baggage that this will bring with it. The next steps in disclosure. Nobody knows for sure what will happen with the disclosure of extraterrestrials. The status quo is unknown to the public, as we are in the midst of a disclosure initiative. But it appears that there is a plan in place. This plan has been created by pro-disclosure factions within the Navy, together with some Nordic aliens, in order to make these revelations as soft as possible. The perception of the UFO topic has changed radically the last years. A lot of the UFO news have reached the mainstream, and big names in the independent sphere like Joe Rogan, they're addressing these topics all the time. Disclosure is probably not going to happen through governmental initiatives or via mainstream media outlets. They have too much to lose. How can they explain, 80 years of secrecy? This is really a can of worms. But the secrecy dam is really leaking at the moment. And the pressure from the public is now immense. And we know that truth always finds a way. The Galactic Federation of Worlds and the Intergalactic Confederation are now guarding our system with over 500 motherships and even more patrolling on the outside. And they are cleaning up our solar system. We have a window of opportunity right now. I believe it will eventually be peaceful official contact within a decade, perhaps. But we need to get our act together first and take responsibility for our own corrupt power structure. We need to remove them, and it's all in our hands at the moment. Lesson 4. Real footage of UFOs and ETs. Okay, I will try to show you some real footage of ETs and UFOs that I believe to be authentic. So let's start. Lecture 7. What can we learn from them? I occasionally think how quickly our differences around the world would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. This is a famous quote from Ronald Reagan. Understanding who we are and where we come from might help us to see things from a different perspective. If it's really true that we were seeded here and genetically modified, hopefully we will become more loving and thankful for having one another, right? We have learned from the ETs that all are one and the one is the all. It's about perspective. We must stop dividing ourselves because of our minor differences. We are in a sense all connected. And they are pushing us to really take away our ego-centered behavior. We are basically on the same team. The extraterrestrials teach us that AI and other technologies have brought about the end of many civilizations. And we don't want to end up in a technocratic society, do we? We are spirits, and the AI tech has the potential to take control and cut us off from our real essence. We must not let AI run amok and take too much control over our lives. And the same thing goes with technology in general. The reptilian influence is still plaguing us, but we are on the verge of freedom, according to many others. We need to remove the negative power structures on Earth that is doing work for the reptilians and the Nebu. And if we do that, we can bring about a world of abundance for everyone, not only centralized wealth for a chosen few. Understanding the concept of densities would compel us to strive for a more positive way of life. By practicing meditation, love, and forgiveness, we can elevate our own consciousness or frequency so that we can be more compatible with higher densities. We are now in the third, but we are knocking on 4 and 5 pretty soon. These densities are apparently not that compatible with negative energies. If we manage to raise our frequency so that we can reach the 4th or the 5th density, then a lot of problems will be solved automatically. The ET teaches us that we have influence over our own faith and our timeline. The negatives want us to be unhappy so that we will bring about our own demise, which is their preferred timeline. And why do they want this? This is because they feed off our negative energy. And now it's our job to starve them, right? There is such an abundance of what we can do in life, and it could be helpful to understand that every human being has an inbuilt compass that is specifically tuned to their signature frequency. This can help to navigate their own unique life adventure, and just by following your own compass, in a sense. Not do what everyone tells you to do, but try to find out what's right for you and jump on opportunities. Be authentic in that sense. The positive ETs arranged that 200 million souls from elsewhere in the galaxy incarnated here on Earth with the task of steering our history in the most favorable direction. And if you're taking part in this, I believe that you could be one of those souls. Before we close this course, I want to share some quotes. The first one is, circumstances don't matter, only state of mind. This is something that Bashar said. It's a extraterrestrial being from the race Essassani. And I think that this is a very, very good thing to remember. That we defined all the circumstances and situations around us. If we are good at relabeling situations, it's easier to overcome obstacles. Don't merge with technology. Instead, integrate with spirit. That is so true. I think this one speaks for itself. We don't want to live in a technocratic society where everything is going through technology and we don't even talk to each other. We have to reconnect, right? Reconnect with our true spirit, and that is the real essence of humans. Money and power will highlight who you truly are. And this is so true, because we know that money can make you into a person that is unlikable, because you get too cocky and you push people away from you, and you think that you're better than others. Everything is superficial, and you focus on the wrong things in life. Same thing comes with power. If you get power, don't try to control people. Just guide them, right? We all have this in us. Thank you so much for taking this course, and I appreciate all your support. If you like my work, please spread the word, and please follow me on Instagram and on other social media platforms. And thank you very much for purchasing my book Off-World Influencers, and thank you for taking this course. I hope it will assist you in your life. Thank you.